You wake up already tired, even after sleeping. You open your phone, scroll for a minute, and feel nothing. The day is waiting for you, but you are not inside it anymore. Something in your life is off, and you know it. You move through your day on autopilot, through the same places, the same conversations, the same responsibilities, and yet inside you feel strangely distant from all of it. The things that once excited you now feel like chores. Even small decisions drain you. You keep moving, but the sense of purpose is missing. You try to focus, but your mind drifts. You try to care, but the energy is gone. This is not stress, not burnout, not confusion. Your life looks fine from the outside, but inside you feel empty in it. You are not the person who built this life anymore, and your soul knows it. This moment always arrives quietly. There is no collapse, no dramatic turning point, just a steady inner resistance that grows each day. You continue your routines, but your spirit no longer settles inside them. The life you are standing in begins to feel narrower than the life forming inside you. What once felt natural now feels forced. What once brought energy now leaves you drained. This is not a breakdown. This is a crossing. Most people try to escape this stage. They fill their days with movement, noise, and distraction. They tell themselves they are simply tired, stressed, or restless. But the deeper truth is simpler. Your soul has outgrown the shape of your current life. And when that happens, no amount of comfort can make the old fit again. There is grief hidden in this process. You are not only releasing parts of the world around you, you are releasing versions of yourself. The version that knew how to belong everywhere. The version that adapted without cost. The version that walked forward without questioning the road. That self carried you far. And now, quietly and firmly, it is being laid down. This is why everything feels heavier. Growth always costs more than remaining the same. When the inner structure of your life begins to change, the outer world resists. Relationships shift. Familiar places lose their warmth. Even your own thoughts stop cooperating the way they once did. The mind reaches for old maps, but the landscape has already moved. There comes a moment that few speak about. The moment you realize you cannot return to who you were, even if you tried. You may visit the same places, speak the same words, hold the same objects, but you no longer occupy them the same way. Something essential has already loosened its grip. This is where fear often appears. Not because you are broken, but because you are becoming. The soul does not tear the old life away all at once. It slowly withdraws its energy. And as that energy leaves, everything that once felt solid begins to feel hollow. You may feel lonely in this season even when surrounded by others. Not because they have changed, but because you have. The questions inside your heart no longer match the answers being offered around you. Your spirit is reaching for a deeper home. There are no instructions for this stage, no clear signs telling you what comes next. Only the quiet, knowing that the old way no longer fits and the new way has not yet appeared. This space between what was and what will be is where many people tremble, but it is also where they are formed. You are not lost, you are in transition. There is a reason this process feels both sacred and unsettling. When the soul begins to awaken to its deeper purpose, it loosens its attachment to the familiar. You start wanting a life that actually feels like yours, not just one that looks acceptable to everyone else. And this rearranges everything. You may notice you are becoming more protective of your energy. Certain conversations drain you quickly. Certain environments leave you restless. Certain goals that once mattered now feel distant. This is not failure. This is refinement. Nothing you are feeling is wasted. Every sense of displacement is shaping the person you are becoming, teaching you to listen inward instead of outward, to move with integrity instead of habit, to choose depth over surface. There is quiet courage required here. The courage to let yourself change without knowing exactly who you will become. The courage to disappoint expectations that no longer match your inner truth. The courage to keep walking even when the path is not yet clear. You are not becoming weaker, you are becoming more real. This is the season when your inner life begins to carry more authority than the voices around you. Not with arrogance, with quiet certainty. You are learning to trust the signals of your own soul, and that trust will slowly rebuild the structure of your life. What feels like loss now will become release. What feels like confusion will become clarity. What feels like loneliness will become quiet strength. Because you are not who you were, and you were never meant to remain there. The old version of you served its purpose. It carried you to this threshold. Now your soul is asking you to step through, not in haste, not in fear, but in faith. Faith that the same hand shaping your inner world will shape your outer world in time. Faith that this unrest is not a mistake, but a message. Faith that your becoming is guided even when the way forward feels unseen. And in that faith, your new life begins to quietly form. This is the part of the journey where everything becomes quiet on the outside and loud on the inside. The world does not announce your transformation. There are no signs, no applause, no confirmation. Most of what is happening is invisible to everyone but you. Yet inside, entire structures are being rebuilt. You begin to notice the distance between who you are expected to be and who you are becoming. The gap feels uncomfortable. You can no longer fully perform the old roles without feeling false. You can no longer chase the same rewards without sensing their emptiness. The soul is not interested in applause. It is interested in alignment. This is where many people attempt to turn back. They return to familiar patterns, familiar people, familiar goals, hoping to quiet the pressure inside. But the soul does not unlearn what it has already seen. Once awareness deepens, there is no true return to sleep. You may try to silence it with busyness. You may try to drown it in achievement. You may try to negotiate with yourself, but the unease remains not as punishment, but as protection. The soul refuses to allow you to build your future on foundations that no longer match your inner truth. This is why you feel restless. Not because something is wrong, but because something is being corrected. You are learning that growth is not an addition, it is a release. You are not becoming more by stacking new layers on top of the old. You are becoming more by shedding what no longer belongs. This shedding can feel like grief. You grieve the ease of your former life. You grieve the certainty you once had. You grieve the simplicity of being someone who did not question so deeply. But this grief is not a sign of regression. It is a sign of passage. The soul always charges a price for becoming, and that price is comfort. You may also notice that your relationships are changing. Some people no longer understand you. Some conversations feel strained. Some connections slowly dissolve without conflict. This is not betrayal. It is a change in what you can tolerate. You are growing into a different life, and not every relationship can travel there with you. This is one of the hardest parts of becoming. The realization that growth sometimes requires leaving behind what once felt like home. You are not abandoning anyone. You are answering something deeper. There is a profound loneliness that can surface here. A loneliness that does not come from isolation, but from transformation. You are in between worlds. The old no longer fits. The new has not yet fully arrived. And in this space, you must learn to sit with yourself without distraction. This is where the soul teaches you its language. You begin to listen more carefully. You pay attention to the subtle signals, the quiet discomfort, the sudden clarity, the moments of peace that arrive without reason. These are not random. They are the compass of your becoming. You may feel drawn to silence, drawn to solitude, drawn to simplicity. This is not withdrawal from life. This is preparation for it. The inner world is reorganizing itself. And just like a house under renovation, everything feels disordered before it becomes whole again. You are learning to live without the old assurances, without the old masks, without the old definitions of success. This can feel frightening, but it is also the beginning of true freedom. The soul is stripping away what was borrowed so that what is essential can remain. This is why you can no longer pretend. This is why superficial pursuits exhaust you. This is why your heart is searching for something that cannot be named. You are not dissatisfied with life. You are dissatisfied with a life that no longer reflects who you are. There is a quiet power forming inside you now, a steadiness that does not rely on external validation, a strength that does not need constant motion, a presence that is slowly replacing the need for performance. You are becoming anchored within yourself. This is not a sudden awakening. It is a gradual remembering, a return to what has always been true beneath the noise. And as this remembering deepens, you begin to walk differently. You choose differently. You respond differently. You are no longer driven by the same fears. You are no longer pulled by the same desires. You are being shaped by something quieter and stronger. The world may not see it yet, but your soul does. And it is not turning back. There comes a moment when you realize that the old life is no longer calling you back. The doors you once kept open begin to close on their own. Not with force, not with drama, but with quiet finality. You no longer feel the same pull. The hunger is gone. The urgency has faded. What remains is a calm awareness that something new is already taking root. This is where inner authority begins. You stop needing permission to be who you are becoming. You stop explaining yourself so often. You stop defending your choices, not because you have hardened, but because you have settled. Your soul has found its footing. There is a new kind of peace that enters at this stage, not the peace of comfort, but the peace of alignment. You may still face uncertainty. You may still walk without knowing exactly where the path leads, but you no longer doubt the direction. This is the quiet strength of transformation. Your priorities rearrange themselves. What once demanded your attention now feels distant. What once seemed insignificant now feels essential. You begin to value depth over speed, presence over performance, truth over approval. This shift does not announce itself. It simply becomes the way you live. You may notice that you are no longer interested in proving yourself. The need to compete softens. The urge to impress dissolves. You are not shrinking. You are stabilizing. You are moving from survival into purpose. The soul always seeks coherence. When your inner life becomes coherent, your outer life begins to follow. You become more patient with your process. You stop rushing your growth. You understand that becoming is not something that can be forced. It unfolds when you remain faithful to what you are sensing within. There is also a deep humility that emerges. You realize how little of your past you truly controlled, how many of your earlier choices were shaped by fear, pressure, and misunderstanding. This awareness does not shame you. It softens you. You begin to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is one of the great stabilizers of the soul. When you forgive, you release the weight of who you thought you should have been. You make space for who you are now. You may also notice a new compassion toward others. You recognize their confusion, their fear, their striving. You see yourself in them. This does not mean you stay in places that no longer nourish you. It means you leave without bitterness. This is emotional maturity, the ability to move on without resentment, to hold your boundaries without hostility, to choose your path without needing to make others wrong. The soul becomes quiet when it no longer has to fight itself. You are learning to live from that quiet place. There is also a sense of sacredness that returns, not tied to rituals or doctrines, but to existence itself. You begin to feel that your life is not random, that your inner movement is guided, that this season of becoming carries meaning beyond what you can fully grasp. This awareness brings a new gentleness into your days. You move more slowly, you listen more deeply, you are less reactive. The world does not push you around the way it once did. You are becoming steady. And in this steadiness, your relationships evolve again. You attract different kinds of conversations, different kinds of people. Connections that are rooted in truth instead of convenience. You no longer bond over wounds, you bond over values. This is where life begins to feel real again. Not loud, not dramatic, but deeply grounded. You are not chasing happiness, you are cultivating wholeness. And as this wholeness grows, something remarkable happens. The fear of the future weakens. You are no longer trying to predict every outcome. You trust your capacity to respond. You trust your inner compass. You trust that whatever unfolds, you will meet it as the person you are becoming. This is true confidence. Not certainty about events, but confidence in your own integrity. The old life cannot contain this new self. It was never meant to. You are not who you were. And now you are finally ready to live as who you are becoming. There is a final shift that arrives quietly, almost without your noticing. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with revelation or thunder. It comes as a deep settling inside your chest. A steady sense that you are no longer fighting your own life. You stop asking whether you are on the right path. You stop measuring your growth against others. You stop scanning the horizon for confirmation. Something in you has already answered. This is the moment when your becoming becomes your home. You begin to inhabit your days differently. Your movements are calmer. Your words carry less urgency. You no longer chase what once controlled you. You no longer fear what once haunted you. You are not numb. You are grounded. This groundedness is the quiet victory of the soul. The world around you may look the same. Your work may be similar. Your environment may not have dramatically changed, but your inner posture has, and that changes everything. You are no longer living as a reaction to your past. You are living as a response to your calling. There is a deep sense of dignity that forms here. Not pride, not superiority, but self-respect. The knowledge that you are walking in truth, even when it is difficult, even when it is unseen, even when it costs you comfort. You no longer abandon yourself to belong. This is where many realize that the struggle was never about external circumstances. It was about alignment. Once alignment is restored, the soul stops resisting reality. It begins to cooperate with it. This does not mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes meaningful. You will still face uncertainty. You will still feel the weight of choices. You will still walk through seasons of loss and renewal. But you will walk them as someone who is no longer divided inside. Wholeness is not perfection. It is coherence. And coherence is the deepest form of peace. You are now living from your center instead of your wounds, from your values instead of your fears, from your truth instead of your past. The soul relaxes when it no longer has to pretend. This is why you feel lighter. Not because problems vanished, but because the inner resistance has softened. You are no longer fighting your own becoming. You are walking with it. This is what quiet strength looks like. Not loud achievement, not constant striving, but steady presence, clear choices, deep roots. You have learned to trust your inner life, and that trust is reshaping everything you touch. You may not always feel inspired, you may not always feel certain, but you will feel anchored. And when storms come, you will not collapse the way you once did. You will bend, you will adapt, you will remain. Because you know who you are. You are no longer living in fragments. You are no longer pulled in opposite directions. You are whole enough to stand. This is the gift of the long transformation. Not a new identity to perform, but a true self to inhabit. You did not lose yourself in this process. You uncovered yourself. The old version of you did what it could with what it knew. It carried you to this place. Now you carry yourself forward with wisdom, humility, and courage. Your life is no longer something that happens to you. It is something you walk into with awareness, and this awareness becomes your quiet light in the world, not for display, not for applause, but for presence. Walk in the light, even on the days it feels distant.